know if it was salve or, I don't know, maybe a good dose of ibuprofen, but we all feel better. The United States finally won a match. U.S. men's national team taking it to Trinidad and Tobago 5-0 to open up the Gold Cup. I'm not sure it matters. Mike DeCourcy, national college basketball writer, Hall of Fame college basketball writer, national columnist for the Sporting News. Does it matter that they won 5-0?
Well, it's better than they didn't win 5-0.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It sure is better than losing to Switzerland in the friendly.
Not just losing, but just getting obliterated, embarrassed. I think this last month of U.S. soccer discourse has been the weirdest and the most abstract. I mean, there are opinions coming from all over the place, and the opinions themselves seem to be coming from all over the place. It's been a very strange month for American soccer. Usually, like when we had the whole thing with the 2019 team and Megan Rapinoe, you could kind of see where these people were going to come from and other people were going to come from. But this one is, I think bizarre is a great word for it.
Yeah, the 2019, the Megan Rapinoe stuff, that really didn't have anything to do with soccer, which was very unfortunate. So let me ask you a couple of questions about. And we'll just start with the one controversy, and then we'll get into the team. Apparently, Christian Pulisic was willing to play in the two friendlies, but wanted the Gold Cup off, and Mauricio Pochettino wasn't happy about that. So basically, you're either here or you're not. So Pulisic is not, and he has played about 120 matches over the last 2 seasons and just needed a break. And I get it, and I'm not even mad that he wanted the break. But this has become a major talking point. I don't know if it's a big deal to Pochettino or Pulisic. What's your read on it?
Well, I think it's a big deal, certainly, but I think the way it's been handled at every level, except Christian's, has been like that's why I came up with the word bizarre. For instance, look, I understand that Coach wants to have control of the team. Of course, it's your team. You get control, absolutely. But when you make bad decisions, they're bad decisions. And declining to bring in Pulisic and others for the two friendlies was a bad decision. Is it more important to do well in the Gold Cup or to do well in the World Cup next year? Because everything I've been told, everything I've heard, and really everything I thought and wrote in advance was that it did matter. The Gold Cup, this Gold Cup would matter in terms of preparing for next summer's World Cup. The problem is that all of a sudden roadblocks started being thrown in front of it, including by the world governing body. The placement of the Club World Cup into this window took 3 regulars, starters, regulars, whatever, out of the team, so they weren't available. And at that point, you're saying, "Well, geez, man, that's more than a third of the team.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big chunk of the team. That in terms of the outfield players, it's nearly a third of the team, I should say. And so that's a lot. And then you throw in Jedi Robinson, who's hurt and needed surgery. Okay, now we got 4, and all of a sudden you've got a huge group of players that aren't available. So what good is it going to do to have Christian Pulisic out there playing another 5 to 6 weeks of soccer with almost no break? That doesn't make any sense to me. So at that point, I totally understood why he would say, this isn't going to help me and it's not going to help them, because I'm going to be out there with a lot of guys who won't be in the World Cup team next year. So why am I there?
Yep.
And why would I not be better off getting rest? He was one of the 10 busiest soccer players in the 5 top European leagues over the last 2 seasons. Top 10 in terms of time spent on the field. That's a pretty big load. Other teams maybe rotate a little bit more. AC Milan had him out there as much as they could get him out there.
Right, their best player.
So that's what you're up against. And so I don't blame him for wanting the break. I do blame Poach for saying, no, if you can't play in the Gold Cup, I don't want you for the friendlies. I mean, he could have had a lot of these guys in there
Yep.
and spent time in those two games actually getting something done. As it was, the Turkey game was a good experience for the guys who were on the field and who mostly were the guys who played last night and won 5-0. The second game was an absolute complete disaster and a complete waste of time for everyone because almost nobody who played in the Switzerland game is worthy of being on the World Cup roster next year, and they're barely worthy of a January camp call-up.
I agree with that, and I'll just extend that. And I know you almost hate to single him out, but I thought it was particularly telling that Matt Turner was no good in the match. At least two of the goals probably shouldn't go. Now, he wasn't playing with the A team in front of him, so I get it.
Right.
But it was not Matt Turner's finest hour, and it amazes me that the United States isn't better in goal. Historically, we've been amazing between the sticks, and this country has not produced a top-flight goalkeeper in a long time. Matt Turner sort of emerged out of nowhere and was a very good, soldier for U.S. men's soccer for a long time. But I think his sell-by date is upon us. I want to dig down with Mike DeCourcy here into the makeup of the roster, even at full strength. And, and maybe I'm the worst example of it, but I've become a pretty big fan over the years. I've always liked the men's national team, and it's good to see a lot of our best players playing in Europe. It's not the be-all. It's not 100% necessary. I think a mutual friend of ours a long time ago said it's more important to be the man somewhere and to have the pressure of performance. We talked about that with Pulisic for a long time. Than it is just to be, somewhere on a European roster. But
right.
I do believe that to be true. But we've got some really good players playing in Europe. We mentioned Pulisic. Tyler Adams had a great season at Bournemouth and will likely anchor the midfield. Anthony Robinson, might be one of the top 5 left backs in all of Europe. I mean, we have some difference makers. We really don't have a lot of those. And that's what concerns me a year from now, is that the makeup of our team is a bunch of good players, but very few great ones.
But that's been the nature of this team, really, for the entirety of its relevance. The relevance began probably 94. 90 was a cool thing that they made it to get things going for 94. But for the entirety of its relevance, they've had a handful of very good players, and then you've had to try to get by at some others. You go back to 2002, the team that made the quarterfinals were not strong in the back line at all. They did not have elite talent there. They had some guys who were pretty good players. They played Tony Sana somewhat out of position, and he did a good job there. But they did. I still remember the difficulties that they had in that area. And then they had they had Orlando Donovan and McBride and some others who were very, very capable players at that stage of their careers. And John O'Brien, who was an outstanding talent, but struggled to stay healthy. The same with Claudio Reyna. So even back then, it was like that. We've made progress in terms of turning out more guys who can play at a average to above average level, but it's still not to the point where you're turning out. I mean, you look at France and you say,
no,
that guy. Just like you were watching Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League. This Doué guy, where's he from? France. I mean, it's like they've got a zillion of them. So does Spain. But the United States is not that yet. And I don't understand. I never understand why people don't do the math. We have a lot of high-level team sports available for male athletes right now. Mm-hmm. And soccer is still the 5th choice for a young, high-level male athlete because you can make a lot of money playing soccer, but you got to leave country to do it. And that's not true for basketball, football, baseball, or hockey. And so that's why it's still soccer for a lot of the best athletes still is not your first choice. And that's why we've made a lot of progress in 30 years, 35 years. but we're still well behind the other nations.
Yeah, and there's a development thing as well. I get it, and the cost, and I'm living this. The cost of playing high-level youth soccer is incredibly prohibitive to a lot of American families. I mean, it's borderline prohibitive to us. So I absolutely know it. There seems to be, like, my kid travels like a pro. I don't even understand. We had an opportunity to go back to San Diego. He was just in San Diego. We can't. Thank God he had surgery. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, but it worked out to not necessarily be a net zero. Anyway, my point is there are a lot of problems with the development program of soccer, youth soccer in America, that probably limits the overall quality. But there's so many kids, and if you can play, you can play. And there are kids who go and play in the academies with MLS and then go overseas. So we have 350 million people in the United States. We should be able to field better teams, but I absolutely understand your point. Let me get to do you see players who play? Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News is joining us here. The players who played yesterday in the 5-0 win over Trinidad and Tobago, and the United States has a couple more matches coming up in group stage. They'll play Saudi Arabia in CONCACAF, how nice, on Thursday, and then Haiti on Sunday. How many of the players who played yesterday, Chris Richards, yes, are likely to be even considered for the first 11 when we get to the World Cup?
I think Malik Tillman will certainly have a chance. He was terrific.
Yeah, it was.
I don't rule out Diego Luna.
I like him too.
Finding a way onto the field, if not as a first 11, then as an impact sub. I think Max Sarson has made a lot of ground up. Look, he's not going to ever pass Jetty Robinson.
No.
But if Jedi is not available, then Max has made. I mean, he's played some really good soccer in each of the games that they've played so far. He's a ways away from that level, but he is starting to show that you can put him on the field and that he can do some good things, and maybe some of the plays he makes get finished by better players, that sort of thing. So there are players that are out there that have a chance to be relevant at that level. In terms of pure starters, I think those two guys, and as you mentioned, in the back, Richards would certainly have a chance, and I wouldn't rule out Tim Ream, although that wouldn't be the ideal. I mean, it's not ideal at this point, but you can't rule it out if Miles Robinson or someone like that doesn't show that he's capable. Mark McKenzie has not played very well in the back when he's played generally, and so you need somebody back there, and it is now the weakest U.S. position. And it doesn't look like there's a lot of answers on the horizon, or at least not in the horizon that exists relative to 2026.
It's funny. We've been looking for a striker forever. I actually think we have a bunch of good options. Flo Balogun is a good player. Ricardo Pepi is a good player, scores a lot of goals in the Eredivisie, but he doesn't start a lot. But I like the kid from Charlotte. Patrick Agyemang is a big player. I don't know if he's quite that quality, but he seems to have a knack for putting goals away, and he's a big body. So we don't have as many wings. It's basically Pulisic, Tim Weah, and Hope at this point. We don't have the depth at wing. We've got to score goals. We're not going to advance 1-0 a lot. Not in the World Cup. Are you at all, before I let you go, Mike, are you at all interested in this Club World Cup? I might have asked you this the last time we spoke.
Yeah, I think I'm intrigued by it. I am going to cover some of it. I will be at a game in the. There's a few different sites that are relatively close to my home, so I will be covering some of the group stage, and then and I'm hoping to cover the final as well in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. So I'm intrigued. It is another extra burden on the athlete, and that's where we get into the whole thing with Pulisic and all of that. It's interesting, all the debate about Pulisic. I heard a Chelsea coach say today that he's really worried about his guys because playing in this tournament, they're not going to get a ton of time off. And he said you really need a month off to refresh. And that's all Christian asked for was a month. Yeah. And we're treating him like he robbed a bank, figuratively. Come on, lighten up on the guy.
I'm with you. I think this Club World Cup is in some ways, I get it. It sounds like it could be fun, but it's way too big. It's way too long, and it's way too much to ask for these players who basically have almost 11-month seasons. And even the time that they get off for international breaks, many of these guys are playing very contested matches during these international breaks. It is no good. You can't play 11 months of the year and be ready to go at the start. You're just asking for injuries. But I did watch.
One thing I would suggest relative to this is if you're going to do this, do it after the World Cup. Don't do it the year before the World Cup.
Right.
Do it the year after. There's no Euros. So the Euros is in the middle of the cycle. Yep. So it sort of fills you toward that, and rather than drain all the best talents a year in advance of the World Cup, and they're going to get to the World Cup having played almost 2.5, 3 years straight. Like the guys from Paris Saint-Germain, if they continue to play as they have. And those are some of the most important players in the world.
Yep.
Those guys are going to get to the U.S. next summer having played almost without a break for 2 solid years. And that is just really hard.
No doubt about it. PSG, I watched PSG Atletico yesterday, and I'm telling you, PSG is super fun to watch. I'm not even mad that they schooled us twice in the round of 16 of the Champions League.
How did they get to the quarterfinals? How did they get there?
Penalties.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I watched both matches. I watched both matches.
The first one, it was pretty bad. But the second one was basically
better.
Just back and forth. It was not better. That was not a schooling.
It was better. wasn't awesome. It was better. They were better at home. Liverpool was better at Anfield than they were at Parc des Princes. But my gosh, they are amazing, and they are super fun to watch, and they look like they can score at will. And I think they're going to win this Club World Cup because when you play in Ligue 1 and there's no other team that can come within 50 miles of you, these are the competitions that matter. All the other stuff, PSG knows they're going to win that league. They know if they don't want to win the French Cup, they won't. But otherwise, they will. These are the competitions that matter to them. Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News. I appreciate your time. We'll talk soccer again. It's the summer of soccer here, Mike.
Yes, absolutely. And happy to be in the middle of it.
Thanks, man.
All right, take care.